Hey there, this is Mark. I'm back again. We've got our helper lessons for foundations for guitar. This is my guitar book. What we're doing is we're going to be talking about eighth notes, or subdividing the beat. This lesson is not going to have any guitar in it. It's good for anybody who plays any instrument. And then what we're going to do after this point is I'm going to do a lesson on strumming eighth notes and strumming subdivisions of the time. These are pages 22 and 23 in the book. If you don't have the book, that's okay, because you can go to my website, markweenguitarlessons.com, and there are PDF downloads of just these couple pages for you to work on. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is we need to talk about what an eighth note is. What we're doing is we're subdividing the time, or we're splitting the beat up into halves. The first half we're going to call a downbeat, and the second half we're going to call an upbeat. The downbeat is right on the metronome click. I've got our handy metronome. Let's set it to 60 beats a minute. And the clicking that you hear, that's our beat, that's our pulse. And the downbeat is right on that click. The upbeat is directly in between clicks, and we call that and when we're counting. So counting eighth notes with this click would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now, when you do these exercises, you want to make sure that you're tapping your foot right on the beat with the metronome. You're always feeling the quarter note pulse. If you're not feeling that pulse, then your subdivisions aren't going to be even. This becomes very important when you're actually playing on guitar, because we need to feel that pulse, and then we also need to feel all the different subdivisions. Otherwise, nothing's really going to make sense when we're playing. If you look at this, I'll hold it up for you. These guys are quarter notes. These guys, where they're beamed together, those are eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and there's actually, for the first batch of exercises, the counting is directly below them. Alright, so when you do these exercises, line number 1, which has a measure of quarter notes, a measure of eighth notes, a measure of quarter notes, and another measure of eighth notes, you're still going to tap your foot on every beat. And I'll tap my foot here on the music stand just so you can hear it. And then you're going to count out loud, and then you're going to clap the rhythm where the attack on the note would be. Alright, so line number 1, we have quarter notes for a measure, we have eighth notes, quarter notes, then eighth notes. Alright, this is exercise number 1 on the page. So we got 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Alright, not too difficult. When we talked in previous lessons about two-dimensional time, or vertical time alignment, what we have here that should be lining up is on the downbeat, you're tapping your foot, you're counting verbally, you're verbally counting, and then you're playing the attack of each of these notes all together. 1, 2. Get used to the time happening, all that stuff happening at the same time. If you're lining that up on the metronome click, this is going to work a lot better. You should be very aware of it. Exercise number 2, we have quarter note, 2 eighth notes, quarter note, 2 eighth notes. So it'd be 1, 2, and 3, 4, and then the third and fourth measures, we've got it actually reversed. So it'd be 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Alright, so I'll go ahead and do that for you. Here. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4, 1, and 2, 3, and 4. Okay? Line number 3 here. A little bit too complicated for me to explain all the rhythms, so you're going to have to look at your page. Alright, here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, 4. Line number 4, we have a whole note, and then we have a measure of eighth notes, and we have a whole note and a measure of eighth notes. What I'd like you to try and do with number 4 is subdivide or count all of the eighth notes during the whole note that you're holding out. That way, when you get to the eighth note, you're already feeling how fast to go. A very common problem is people, when they have a long note or they have a long rest, they just stop counting. They just kind of look at it and wait for the time to go by. And then when they actually have to play like a full measure of eighth notes or a real repetitive rhythm like this, they don't know where to feel the time, and it takes a couple beats for it to settle in. We're going to try and avoid that as much as we can. So here's number 4. I'll be clapping on the attack of the note, of the whole note, and I'll be counting and tapping my foot, same as before. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Okay, not too hard, but it really helps, because then by the time you're into the eighth note, you're actually already feeling them. Number 5, on page 22, we have some rests. We have a quarter note and then a quarter note rest. And you're basically just playing the attacks on the notes that you're playing. You still have to tap your foot, and you still have to count through the rest. A rest is very important because it's a duration of how long not to play for. And if you don't count and you don't tap your foot, the time's not going to stay continuous. You're not going to stay in the pocket. The subdivisions aren't going to stay even. So it's real important. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to subdivide the time. I'm going to count every eighth note, but I'm going to play the rhythms on number 5. And it'll go something like this. 2, 3, 4. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Hopefully that makes sense. But the idea is that you're feeling every one of the smallest divisions of the time. There's no adjustment when you have to play it, and everything stays in the pocket. We're not going to go through all of the rest of the next page. You just want to make sure that you're counting the rests properly, counting through the rests. With these clapping exercises, obviously when you clap something, it's just the attack of the note. There's no duration like we've talked about in the previous lessons. So you just have to try and make sure that what you're doing is you're aware of where the attack is. You still understand that that's a quarter note. It should be lasting if you were playing. But when you get to rests, that you understand how long the rests are for, you're counting through them, and you're not doing anything kind of funky. Everything should add up. Sometimes I get students and they'll look at something and go, well, a half rest and a quarter rest, if you look at them, let's do this. This measure right here has a half rest, and then this measure here has a whole rest. The whole rest is on the fourth line hanging down, and it gets the whole measure by itself. That's usually the easiest giveaway. The half rest will have other stuff in the measure if we're in 4/4 time, and it's also sitting on the third line. Remember, the half rest gets 2 counts of silence, the whole rest gets 4. That's pretty much the deal for this. The most important thing is that you can feel time before you try to play time on the instrument, because you have all of the stuff, the coordination with the hands. You're trying to remember where to put your fingers, how to strum, the actual song. There's a lot of stuff going on. So what we try and do is we try and reduce all of this rhythmic information to muscle memory or instinct. You shouldn't have to think about it too much. You should be able to look at it and do it. But you have to feel it. You always have to feel that quarter note, and then you have to feel that subdivision. Once you can do that, you'll start looking at things and just recognizing them and being able to play them. And that's what we're really aiming for. We really don't want you to have to think too much while you play, because there's too much to think about.